Hey, Hammer 357 Mag here. I've recently decided it's a good thing to be prepared. I've been watching YouTube videos on the subject for the past year or so, and I've picked up some good info. I've gathered up some guns, ammo, knives, camping equipment, but felt like that I was prepared in some areas and ignoring others. As a result, I felt it was needed to develop a tool to keep me focused and building a balanced system of preparedness. So I would like to introduce my concept of prepping a phased approach. This video was inspired by Big City Texas 45. The video's on prepping on a $1,000 budget. I submitted an entry to that, and it kicked my brain in to think about what I've been doing and how I've been doing it, and I've given some thought to it. So the concept here is to have a balanced approach in your prepping and implementing a phased approach. So what you do is identify what prepping supplies you'll need for 15 days, which I'll call phase 1. Then procure those items. Then move on to your 30-day supply, which I'll call phase 2. Then 60 days, phase 3. Then 90 days, phase 4. And so on until you've reached the total amount of supplies you'll need for the period of time you're prepping for. So again, if you're prepping for 30, 60, 90 days, implement a phased approach. If you're prepping for 2 years, the same thing would apply, but you might have different time frames in which you would apply the phases. Why the phased approach? This will provide you with a balanced amount of prepping supplies at any given point in time until you reach your total prepping goal. So what it basically does, if you're 60 days into your prepping supply, you have a balance across your water, food, your shelter, and other supplies, so that if SHTF hits the fan prior to your completion of all your prepping, you'll have a balanced set of prepping supplies that will allow you to survive for the period of time for which you were able to complete your prepping. Basically, having 10 guns and 1,000 rounds of ammo per gun, 75% of your water and 50% of food, and 20% of your other supplies is not going to make it. Remember, you will only survive as long as the weakest link in your prepping supplies. So those are the kind of things you need to consider when you do the phased approach. And again, a phased approach will keep you focused on your priorities daily and keep your prepping balanced until you reach your final goal, whatever that may be. In an attempt to keep these videos to a manageable length, I'll be implementing a phased approach to shooting the videos. Okay, let's start. I will discuss phase 1 and 2 for my situation. And phase 1 is probably the hardest part of the phased approach plan. It basically starts the planning phase. A 15-day procurement cycle, and that will set the foundation for all the follow-on phases. Phase 1 will include developing a spreadsheet and the planning for all the phases. So if you don't have a Microsoft Excel or a spreadsheet capability, you'll be needing to use pad, draw some lines, and use a pencil. The nice thing about a spreadsheet is it'll allow you to organize, to sort, establish priorities, track cost by item, summarize your phase costs, what you spent today and what you have to go, and then it also allows you to project your future costs by phase. Phase 1 will establish what you're prepping for and your initial strategies. In other words, what event you're prepping for is important to what your prepping needs will be, and your initial strategies or assumptions that will drive your prepping needs in the short and long term. Things to consider: are you staying in your home? Have you established a location you plan to bug out to? Again, these will affect your prepping needs. Now, I'm building this approach right now on my situation as an example. I have 2 persons. We live in a suburban environment, so I'm going for the in-home survival. Again, I have nowhere to bug out to at this time. Maybe in the future I'm going to buy some property and establish a bug out location, but for right now that isn't the case, so I need to plan to stay at home and to establish a presence here. And also, if we have a long situation, establish some kind of organized neighborhood so that the neighborhood at least can pull together and survive. In any case, my prepping is going to plan for the worst case. I plan loss of power, loss of gas, loss of electric for 90 days. I will keep my gas tank at a half full at all times. My plan is to utilize what's normally in the house to provide some of the prepping needs. And again, I will buy in bulk if it's cost effective. But don't let this get too far out of proportion. Again, we're looking for balance in our prepping so we have the supplies we need at any given point in time if SHTF. Again, phase 1 will also cover the first 15 days of the prepping needs, and phase 2 is going to cover the next 15 days for a total of 30 days. So let's get started. Let's develop a list of the prepping needs and load the spreadsheet. I've used many resources to establish my list of prepping needs, mainly fellow YouTubers. Okay, we're going to take a break here and come right back. Okay, I've already populated the spreadsheet with the items I selected, which is part of phase 1, and I've, determined based on my situation, where I live, and how I do things, what the items I need based on, viewing a lot of info on YouTube. So trying to keep this video down to only a couple parts. I'll run through these quickly, then we'll go back and look at quantities, how much I spent today in part 1 and part 2, if I can get that in. And then we'll go from there to the kits, which I call out here. So the first thing is water. I've determined I need 3 gallons a day. I'm going to use canned protein, canned vegetables, canned fruit, peanut butter, nuts, protein bars, starch. We're going to need clothing. Plan on changing that about every 3 days, assuming you have 3 sets or 10 sets of clothing. We're going to need a shelter, blankets, and shoes. The clothing and the shelter, blanket, and shoes are all provided in your home environment. Next, I've come up with some kits, which if I have time in this video, I'll go through the kits. If not, I'll go through the kits in the next video. First kit I call water boiling, purification, and cooking pots. Without the gas, with the gas being cut off, you're going to use alcohol stoves. We'll go through that during the kit. The second kit will be the fire starting kit. Third kit will be your first aid kit. Kit 4 will be a personal hygiene kit. Kit 5 will be your everyday carry kit. Kit 6 will be your home lighting. And Kit 7 will be your knives and axes. Okay, moving on. You've got your cooking pots and utensils, paper plates, paper bowls, plastic cups. You'll need an emergency radio that cranks so that you can charge some batteries. I have duct tape on the list. Then I get into my handguns and rifles, and these will be phased out through the different phases, but basically the list is a 9mm carry. I'm going to have a Ruger 1022 rifle, a Ruger SR22 handgun, a Ruger Mini 30, a Marlin 30-30, another 9mm handgun. Then we get into the ammunition that will also be phased in during the different phases. 22 long rifle in 500 round boxes, 9mm, it'll all be jacketed hollow point, and then your 7.62 by 39 for your Mini 30, 5 of those in the bricks of the 500 rounds. And then we're going to have our 30-30 ammo, and that's 20 rounds in a box, so you have to figure out how many boxes you need over what period of time. It's going to be important that you have a sharp stone to sharpen your knives and axes, and you have some oil to do that. Your general home tools, a manual can opener, also you'll need your prescription meds, which are you're going to need to start putting about 3 days worth a month. Same with your over-counter, you're going to have to start stockpiling that. You're going to need coffee, a camp style coffee pot, as you won't have any electricity, so you're going to have to use the alcohol stove to boil your coffee like the good old days. You'll need coffee filters for the coffee, plus that becomes important also in your water kit to boil, purify water. We're going to need trash bags throughout the 30-day period. We'll need plastic forks and knives. We're going to need some alcohol, chocolate bars. We're going to need paracord. And I've also put in the need for cash.
Oh my God.